Welcome to Nothing New Under the Sun. My name is Darius.
I am George, and today we have a guest on. Go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi, everyone. I'm Shelby. Nice to meet you all. Very excited to be here.
Very good.
And yeah, Shelby's pretty awesome. Met her a couple years ago, and we talked and we connected on some really cool topics that I don't really normally connect with besides a couple people in my life. So that was really cool.
Totally
She's
random.
one of the awakened people, not the woke people. Not that fake woke. She's awakened. That's actually hard to find nowadays.
Oh, thank you.
Even though she lives in New
That's
York,
very
which I don't know if I
compliment.
trust. But
Brooklyn. I am in Brooklyn, but yeah, understandable. Hey, you guys used to live in LA.
yeah, so
That's
Yeah,
just older.
just as bad.
yeah, it's pretty bad. Yeah.
So if you want to give a
But
little bit about yourself, whatever information, and then we can kind of just dive right in after that.
Yeah, I mean, let's see. I guess well, when I met George, it was about, what was that, 2 years ago?
yeah,
3 years ago. I mean, I feel like there's nothing. I'm like anybody else. Just kind of. I think I was lucky in that I was able to maybe find some of the information that is now coming to light. What uh, 2, 3 years ago. Same with a lot of other people. And yeah, I just when I met George, it was just like I was kind of in the beginning of those stages, and it was really great to get to meet somebody who also was like even informed on some of these topics that were pretty taboo at the time. And yeah, I've kind of just continued to whatever I call myself a truther, you could say. And so through that, George and I have reconnected because I did meet that same weekend. I met Isaac Kappy because Isaac Kappy was yes, one of the first whistleblowers to come out and kind of call some people out that we all knew, and yeah, that's I wouldn't say that kicked it off, but it was definitely like I needed to go meet him to get a sense for his character and just like know that he was coming from a good place in those periscopes. And it's just been a it's been a really wild journey since then. But I'm like anybody else. I work a normal job. I did take a year off to like just kind of. I mean, I worked on music. I did research, all sorts of things. But yeah, like anybody else, just trying to keep up with everything. And I think there's a lot to be excited about too, though. Like as dark as all of this stuff is, which I'm sure we'll talk about. Like there's a lot of really exciting things, whether it's like technology or whatever else there is. And so that's kind of what I've been really excited about lately. So it's good, you know. With anything else, there's like good and bad, and yeah, excited to get into it with you guys. That was a
awesome.
long intro. I didn't really talk about me,
No,
but
hell
No, that's
yeah, no,
totally
that was
fine.
great.
there's
That was
nothing
great.
special
That
to
was awesome.
introduce. I'm just like everybody else, just trying to keep up.
Nah, I
Trying to
dig
keep
it.
up in this crazy world that just is ever changing. And hey, this is probably something that helps you out. That when you were getting into the truther community, it was during like a time where not a lot of people were, and now you're like, hey, all this stuff we were talking about or learning about is coming to fruition. So it's always nice to see that you're
Yeah,
not
yeah,
crazy.
exactly. And that might be, I don't know if that's intentional or not, but it's a good thing that I think everybody isn't waking up at the same time because the markets would probably crash. Like if everybody was just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh my God,
That makes sense.
so
Yeah,
we are that compromised, you know, like that.
yeah.
I think it's good that it's been a 2 to 3 year process because this is stuff that I still have to like really is some of this stuff real, but yeah, it's yeah, a good barometer is my parents because my parents they're intelligent. I give them a lot of credit, and just kind of seeing how they used to react to me when I was giving them information like 2, 3 years ago about Epstein or whatever else it was, and they were just like, okay, like concerned, but you know they knew there was something to it, and then to have like 2, 3 years later, my dad calling me and asking me who Isaac Cappy was, it's interesting, but yeah. What do you guys want to? You guys have been covering a lot of really cool stuff, and I feel like we could go off any direction. But um, yeah, what's top of mind for you guys today? Today was a huge day. There was a lot that happened.
Oh yeah, definitely. Like, well, going into Cappy real quick, did you guys like talk about like as far as like Tom, like because Tom Hanks is now known as that pedophile, like his Instagram comments are like 10, like thousands of people putting pizza
Oh my
signs, and
god.
like
It's
now you have Spielberg coming out of like people are starting to see that, and I don't know. It's all these like I think we were talking about like a couple years ago about these lizard people that like are kind of like coming out of the shadows finally, and people are
yeah,
noticing it.
like so I did Isaac like he referenced Tom Hanks. Yeah, he was so he was one Tom Hanks was definitely one of the ones where like there was no question. I'm pretty sure even in the like the video, the Periscope that he did the day before he supposedly killed himself was um, he just straight out said he's like yes, yes, Tom Hanks is a pedophile. This is going to be really hard for everybody to hear. Da da da. I mean, there were some things where I feel like he may have wavered, but that was definitely not one that he wavered on. I actually got in touch with Sarah Ruth Ashcroft as well around that same time, and she's the one that I believe the only one who's come out and has said she was abused by him as a child. And I got in touch with her just I don't know if it was through Twitter. I think it was through Twitter initially, and just a little back and forth. But she was willing to talk. Didn't get any really suspicious. I mean, I didn't get to know her well enough to be able to like, say, oh yeah, I fully believe her or not. But totally willing to talk, and no one's sued her. No one's sued her at this point. So that signals to me they don't want discovery. But that's just assumptions. So yeah, I think what I would say isn't the only reason that people would assume what they do about Tom Hanks. And then he just got citizenship in Greece. I'm like, dude, what did you?
Yeah,
Like,
Gary's got in an argument with our friend about that Greece situation, like about like yeah.
Totally unrelated.
Well, okay, so this is the thing. Obviously, what came out of the argument is, at least I got him to admit, it is very suspicious to do that, even if it's honorary. But it's still suspicious. Not only that, he was showing me like, what was it, Snopes, and I think it's Minor or something, but it's like some like it's like a Snopes site, and it was referencing. And their evidence was just, articles saying that this might happen. But they didn't have any, like, Greek legislation saying it did or didn't. And that's something I kind of looked into, where the internet really doesn't have any information off if it was passed or not. All it says is they are trying to. And the problem was, it wasn't just, like, pedophilia. It was all kinds of different, mental health disorders that they were trying to categorize, because they were more looking into kind of, like, researching it. And but the people were against essentially not just making it a mental disorder, but if you make it a mental disorder, what kind of disability claims can you get from it, and what kind of waivers you can get from it. So that was really the argument for it as well. So that's all I found. It was nothing that it was disproved or it was ever revoked, nothing like that. But again, like I always say,
for me, Google... it wasn't. I didn't even know about when I heard the news about him getting citizenship. I didn't even know about the way the laws worked. I was just like, that's just weird to get. That's just a weird timing to get Greek citizenship, anyways. So I don't know. I think TBD, like right to be determined. But I think a lot of people are going to kind of expose themselves. Like I think, I don't know. I have a crystal ball, but I think people are coming out and just kind of making themselves be guilty without them, I don't know.
I mean,
there's
at this point, or whether or not you want to take like Sarah by her word.
Everything Tom Hanks has done for the last year is just odd. Like at the best case scenario, it's odd. A green screen kitchen, even though you own a tens of $1 million house. Shaving your head for no reason, having literally, okay, I know this is just far-fetched and kind of reaching, but a massive amount of, a large collection of typewriters called Corona, having literally the most odd sink ever behind the Corona, going to Greece, like, just a laundry list of things that are odd. And not only that, like, his hair grew really fast, because if you look at the picture, okay, I know this is weird, but I've been growing my hair out. It doesn't look like it, but I slicked it back. Hair doesn't grow that fast. He was completely bald, and in 3 months has like a full head of hair. That's fine, and took a picture. So there's a lot of just odd things about Tom Hanks, and not even just going into what Isaac Kappy said, just things that he's doing just doesn't make sense. But go back to Isaac Kappy. I know we're grilling you on that, but was there anything that he said to you that was shocking or that most people don't really know?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, I met him once. We had so I was just early on his Periscopes, like glued to them for a while, to the point where it was probably like really weird. But yeah, ended up I think it was through Periscope. Like he just ended up like it got to the point where he would like know who I was. We were conversing on Periscope, and then got each other's numbers. And I knew at this point I was still living. I was in New York, and yeah, I was going to see my friend Marika, and I told him I'd be in the area, and he was also having a yard sale. That's what it was, because he was leaving LA. And I think he was leaving LA to go back home at that time. But when I went over there, everybody had almost left. And I remember thinking, he is just so alone. Like, his place was almost empty, and I think he had like one more night there. And I can't remember exactly what we talked about, but one thing that stood out, we were like out on his balcony or something, and I remember asking him like, do you feel safe, whatever, and he kind of gave me this look, like, I like looked around, I was like, what, like, yeah, what, you think people are like watching you now? He's like, honestly, yeah, I feel like I'm being, totally followed. At the time, I was like, yeah, probably being paranoid. And now, who knows? But the last time that I talked to him was, I think it was like 6 months before he had died. It was a text conversation back and forth asking how he was, and I think at that time he said he was like safe, and I think he said at a house in LA. But when he died, I think he was going home, I would assume, because he lived in New Mexico, and I guess it was in Arizona where he was found. But like in terms of like new information about people, no, I didn't get any of that. For me, it was like, it wasn't necessarily a fact-finding mission. It was more like I just needed to meet him, and I felt like I just had known him my whole life, type of thing. He seemed like a cool guy, probably did some things and was real messed up himself, but I think he was, for the most part, coming from a really good place, and I think he was. I don't think he's going to be appreciated really for a while, but I think what he did was huge. Sacrifice himself, honestly. Mm-hmm. But who knows? I don't know what he did. He could have done some real dark things too. So that's just my experience with him. But I felt for him, man. I just felt like this guy is so freaking alone. He's been totally ostracized by everybody in his life, and I felt that in his. I mean, he had also just like sold everything, but it was just like I don't know. Just tell he was totally alone. There are a few people though that he had, I know, that like helped him with the yard sale and all that stuff, and he was staying with. But yeah, I can't even imagine. Like literally all of Hollywood were just like excommunicated him.
Mm-hmm.
Dude, that's like John Wick's excommunicado type shit.
Yeah.
So like,
when you're going against what their power structure, they do everything against everything they can to kind of just push you out. And even if he wasn't murdered or had end up committing suicide, he was still driven by them, by being pushed away so far or physically pushed, which we've all, well, us three most likely have seen where it happened, and it's kind of one of those things where it's like, did he really? That's not the, but
yeah, I wasn't even like, I wasn't. When I learned that he had died, I wasn't even like, oh, he was suicidal. Like I didn't even, that wasn't the immediate thought. I thought like he, who knows what was going on right then and when right before his death. And the video that he gave, I mean, he did say several times, "I'm not suicidal." That is the weird part.
Mm-hmm.
He said that several times, but who knows? But in that final video, it was like he was just saying how he is also guilty of things and how for a long time he knew what they were doing and he was still benefiting from being with these people, like, being in these circles. And so I could see how the guilt could over time really add up, even if you did come out and end up exposing the truth, if you know that for a period of time you also still were part of it and benefited from it, like that's a lot to live with as well. So I don't know, it doesn't really, his death ultimately, like, it doesn't really change a lot in terms of it does, but it doesn't kind of change my opinion of him,
The whole entire thing is just like fucking crazy, and I'm very thankful for you coming on and explaining everything. That's like really awesome of you, by the way. And I didn't
know what to expect, honestly. Hey,
what he, yeah, I mean, I don't think I have anything like groundbreaking to share,
No, but like it's cool, like to even like talk to a person that actually spoke to the cat, like.
Well, I feel like you did more. You had like a slight connection with the guy, and kind of got to know him outside of the world that he's trying to tell everyone about. You like had like an actual connection, not just, hey, tell me about the pedophilia, like, oh, actually tell me about you, and let's have real conversations. Sometimes that's more important.
He was funny. He was like, I used to work my parents, they managed a whitewater rafting guide, and I grew up around like whitewater rafting guides. Like, there's just a type of humor and just a way of like approaching life, and he reminded me of one of those people. He was just, I don't know, he seemed like someone who would be really fun to hang out with, to be honest. It's probably why he got to know a lot of people. He was probably really well liked until he wasn't.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, no, I liked him, but I could see, yeah, he was a real person. I'm sure there are going to be a lot of like rumors. I don't know. Yeah, I'm sure there'll be a lot of rumors out there, but we might learn a lot more. I think there's going to be so many more developments like within the next 3 months. Like, I think a lot of this stuff is timed, a lot of the information, because we are in an election year, and unfortunately, like, that is going to be weaponized, and politicized. And I think we're going to learn a lot more. Although I don't think we're going to get the full truth. I think it'll be a lot will remain private just for the sake of humanity. But enough to the point where like people realize that we have to like make serious changes.
Amen. Like, that's how, like, I don't know. I think this defund the police thing like had like good intentions, then it just kind of lost the rails, and
the road to hell is paved in good intentions.
Exactly. Well, what's weird is they put the police reform bill together. The Republicans did, right? Like, I don't know if you guys saw the speech of Tom Scott, where he's like, Tim Scott, where, I mean, it's a beautiful speech. I'm not even going to try to like go over what he says, but it's ridiculous. You guys are talking about the urgency of police reform, and here we have a bill, but now we're pushing it off from now till 2021, just because you don't really want to give the Republican Party credit for putting it together. It's all so political. But I agree, there is reform that is needed, but I don't think that less money is going to help that. I don't think less money is going to help anything. I saw somewhere, I think it was actually Andrew Yang, who was like, every policeman needs to be like a purple belt in karate or whatever else. Like that means more resources. That means more funding, actually.
Training, man.
The defunding thing is just like handing away the election, but yeah, reform is needed, and there are definitely like pockets of racist a-holes throughout this country. But like, there are problems. I just hate when it gets politicized and it's used for political gain. That it loses legitimacy. And that's so clearly what's happening.
There's shitty people in every profession and everywhere you go. You just can't get away from that. Bad
seeds.
Yeah, I always say like the main factor of like murder is humans. Like that's what it comes down to. It's, when an animal kills a person, they don't call it murder. Murder is when another human kills another person. So it's one of those things where it's at the end of the day, it's more of where the problem and what kind of training. Like we had a video already where we were talking about, how many hours they have in the shooting range, right? Over like self-defense, and like they're trying to get rid of like chokeholds and self-defense, but keep the same amount of hours of shooting. Well, it becomes muscle memory, becomes we're creatures of habit. So if your first instinct is when adrenaline hits in is muscle memory to shoot, you're obviously going to shoot more than you're going to like try to calm the situation, sad to say. So add in mandatory yoga and jiu-jitsu rather than
and then add in a public that is just totally ready to blow and has been told that police are the boogeyman. Like again, the attention, you just said it.
Yeah.
Like it's just so hard because I have a lot of friends who like my circle is very, very liberal, and they know me well, and so when I criticize things like the mission statement of BLM, it's like I wish they could see that you and I are like, we very much agree on like what needs to happen and like what the reality of the situation is, but like telling people they're racist is not the way to get there, so like we're just disagreeing on the path to the solution. But this divide and conquer tactic, it's working so well right now. And it's so hard because it's like we are all like we're all not that different. Like we don't actually disagree on a lot of this stuff. We're just the left, right, red, blue thing, man, it is like so effective.
Oh yeah. Like I mean,
it's the smoke and mirrors. We talk about this all the time. You get them fighting over on this, and then over here you're doing something else. So it's and the sad part is half the time when it comes to like the real infringement on our rights, it's both signatures. There's an R&D behind every single thing. Like from war to the Patriot Act, there's an R&D signature no matter what. So, and guess what happens? Both sides makes money off it. Both sides make money off of you losing your rights and liberties and other people dying. But, as long as you can speak eloquently, you can get away with murder. So, apparently.
Exactly. Speak really well. Yeah, it's gonna be a fun time. It's gonna be a crazy election. I'm just like, do you think it's gonna happen? Like, is it gonna happen? Are we gonna have an election?
Oh, there was that siege, Darius. You sent me September 17th, the siege on the White House.
Oh yeah, so this is like, going around. I saw this, and actually was like, because I'm one of those people where you could see a screenshot or someone post something, and you're like, oh, this is bullshit. I personally, I don't even have great editing skills, and I could do this, but. So I always like to like look into it, like actually look it up, and I was like, oh, this is real. These people are getting together and they want to have the siege of the White House. And it's on September 20th. They're going to literally get armed and storm the White House. This is on the internet right now. And it was stupid because there was just a Secret Service member that just shot somebody that was being aggressive. So people forget that Secret Service are like no joke. Like they are like trained killers. Their main job.
And Trump just fired the Secret Service and brought in his own. And supposedly they're like the best in the world.
Are they ex-Mossad? No. But it's kind of foolish. Like people. Okay, what's funny about this is like you see this going around, but it's like not. It's like, is this taken as like a serious threat? Is this not? Like, it's still up, the post. Like after days, it's been like a week and it's still up. Like, are they doing this to kind of find people, to kind of track them, or are they just doing this more as like or they're just not taking it serious? Because I've been waiting. Because a few people have been pulling guns lately, and I'm just waiting for something really bad to happen. The guy in Austin that was shot, clearly, I even have pictures I put up on one of ours that he pointed his gun at the driver. And something I'll tell you about Texas, everybody has a gun.
There was a guy with the guy who was with his girlfriend. Was it a wheelchair? Is that the one, or is it a different guy?
No. Okay, yeah. Okay, so the story is that there was someone in a wheelchair that was like in front of the car, and the car was like trying to go, and so everyone was trying to pull the driver out. But the
Right.
guy with his girlfriend pulled a gun. He had an
Right.
AK-47. He pointed it in the face. Like the video shows him do this. And the one thing that's gonna happen is, again, everyone has guns out here. That's the one thing they believe in. Like, I don't care if you're black, white, Asian, Arab. Like, every person I've met are like, we love guns. So you're gonna get killed. Like, and that's what happened. He got shot. And I'm surprised this hasn't happened more because I've seen multiple people now pointing guns at each other. Um,
Really?
Dude, a lot in Portland, bro.
yeah. But, this is the thing. Like, are you going to get dragged out of your car? Like, I even mentioned, like, there was a guy that had palsy, and he literally was pulled out of his car because he was trying to go to the store and took the wrong direction, and he couldn't, like, they were like, oh, he's freaking out, and they like robbed him, stole stuff out of his car, and dragged him out of his car. It's like, I know that's helping scare people as well, kind of like it's that divide. But again, like, what you mentioned before we got on here was like New York and how it's like more pockets. Do you want to talk about New York right now, kind of what's happening, what you've seen over the last couple months?
Well, I was telling you guys that I'm in Brooklyn, and like my area, like I haven't seen any looting or anything like that. There was, I think, I heard like one protest or like one protest down my street, but it's been fairly quiet where I am. But Soho, that's where, like, when I did go into the city, just when it was super hot, like Soho was a disaster. Like that was just sad. Like that actually made me kind of depressed. Just like not like just like knowing that people we're capable of doing that. Just like destroying our own neighborhood. Like it was just I mean, I don't know. I didn't see a lot more than that. I wasn't in the marches or anything, but it looked like a war zone. There were gunshots. There was fireworks, like constant fireworks. They finally have stopped, but it was, yeah, it looked like a war zone in Soho. It looks a little bit better now. Now people are like out. They have their like restaurants are putting all their tables out. It's actually like pretty pleasant in the city right now. But it wasn't for a while there. But but now you're seeing that the crime rate is way up. Like, so I don't know. You're told these things on the news. I'm not exposed to it on the ground. It was the same thing with coronavirus. It was like New York is the epicenter of it, and but I just like didn't see that. Then again, I wasn't on the ground. I'm not a nurse on the front line, so it's just you kind of have to like I guess trust whatever news you're listening to. But
Yeah.
no, it was bad
Trust.
in New York. I'm just like not living in the pockets that are really bad. But I have witnessed it. It is what is crazy to see is the stores that have completely boarded up or shut down. Restaurants, like personally, restaurants, like I'm like I'm just so sad. Like some of my favorite restaurants are now done, and it's like God, if I'm sad, like suck it up, Shelby. Jesus, these people have had their like. It's so sad, but really frustrating. Really frustrating, really sad because I don't, what does Trump say? Like the solution can't be worse than the problem, and it feels a little bit like that might be happening right now, especially now that you have, you've seen that the CDC was very off in reporting the numbers, and those were incredibly inflated, and we were making all of these decisions without really having all of the information and not really thinking through everything. Like, what about the kids who are maybe in a domestic abuse situation, or they don't, they're not getting their free lunch. Like, these are just things that you have to think about before you shut down an entire economy. And New York is probably just like the worst case of that, like the best worst case. Because it looks like a different city right now when you drive through it, everything boarded up. But I have faith because there are people that are like, I don't know, spirits are high, I would say. The weather's
That's
not bad. Well,
Yeah, see, that's great. Like in LA, it's not that right now. Like we're still
really?
boarded. Yeah, dude, we're still boarded up out there. Like I went out to a restaurant before they closed them down, and there was a lot. They were allowing inside dining. Now that restaurant's in like this old parking complex and doesn't have an outside area, so they had to shut down. And it like compare if you're not marching in LA, you're not doing anything. Like at this point, it's pretty whack. I know
I mean,
Malibu, they're
everybody's
out.
left. That's the
Yeah,
thing is people are gone. Like if I
hmm
don't know. I think that's been really interesting to watch. Like, people I work with, whatever, everyone's gone. Like when people, when I say I'm still in the city, like, you're still there. Like, yeah, or in
yeah,
Brooklyn.
it, it's
But
nuts.
are people fleeing from LA? I've been,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
hearing that.
Well, like they pushed back rent until the August 1st, but they had to pay all 3 months on August 1st. So everyone just bounced after that. And like my brother's building, like he says, a quarter people moved out last week. So I don't know. Like it's all weird. Like
Yeah,
jobs won't be the same, media won't be the same.
yeah.
Like
Who has $7,500 of because the average costs like $2,500. That's 3 months behind. It's funny that you guys are saying it's that bad. Where I am, nothing's like that. The worst thing that people are mad about is you have to wear a mask. But other than that, like restaurants are open, in and out. You can go and eat inside In and Out today if you want. Not even just go through drive-through. Like it's kind of a totally different
Oh,
place.
I'm visiting out so bad
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
so weird. It's the weirdest thing because like I go around, I talk to people, like everyone's friendly, nobody's like stressing. Like there's a person here and there driving with a mask on. I'm like, you're an idiot, but other than that, it's like might as well just drive with a blindfold on because that's where you're at in your life.
In
But
Brooklyn, I'm the only person. Like, I will just choose not to go to the stores that ask you wear masks. I'm like a child with something in its hair. Like I literally can't. I touch my face too much, even when I don't have it on. Like I am so good. But I'm the only person. I'm not kidding you. In Brooklyn, walking on the street, and it's like 90 degrees outside. The wind's blowing. Like I'm the only person not wearing a mask outside. Like you guys, you're outside.
mhm. Yeah,
And I don't know. Okay, we don't need to get into the mask debate, but what I will say is that I think a lot of people really like the mask. Like, I think some
yeah,
people have been like waiting to wear masks, and
oh
it's
yeah,
New York, so it's like trendy too. Like I go to we're right by stores, and now there's like these trendy masks, and I don't know how effective they are, but they look cute,
mhm.
and I think they look good on some people, and like maybe some people want to wear the mask, and whatever, you do you. Um, I It's not my thing, and I actually think a lot of the science shows that it might not be the best thing for you. Um, you know, re-inhaling your carbon dioxide, like it's not the best thing. I think it was two boys in China, like in PE, like they dropped dead
Mhm.
hmm
running just because they were forced to wear their masks. Or is that the reason? I don't know, but you know,
Well, people forget also like our mouths have so much bacteria. So even if you're not even like rebreathing carbon dioxide, you're just building up bacteria in your mouth and on your lips. And like I feel like because I
okay.
have to work out, like I broke out a little bit, but I'm like I'm 29 and I have pimples again. But
Here's here's the thing: is okay. If the masks worked, why did they let out the prisoners? Why couldn't they just put the masks on the prisoners? And if they had to let the prisoners out, then the masks don't work, right? So then why do I have to wear it on the street? And then I just saw, I think it was last week, it was Greg Gutfield, who I love, reposted the story about a guy who was let out of prison because of coronavirus fears, and he went and murdered the woman who I think reported him or like got him into
yeah,
prison for the first place. Like
hmm
what? Like what? Didn't see that coming. It like I just there's so much stupidity. Like it's hard to take anything else that seriously when you have people making decisions like that. It's like why should I tell you when you tell me to wear a mask? If you're gonna also release prisoners.
Yeah, no, it's
Well, a
I
lot
know,
of
like, I'm even like relating to things that aren't related, but it's just that
no,
there's a lot
well,
of silliness.
it's all related, and that's the scary part. And that's kind of like, as a truther, you kind of start seeing like it is literally all related. It's all one giant spider web that they say it's not related, but honestly, if you're trying to cause civil discourse and issues and divide people more, let people out. You know, there's been cases where people have had COVID and they're in there for selling drugs and they don't get out, but someone who had, like, you know, like you said, like a rape, you know, someone who committed rape or some violence, they're getting out. Why wouldn't you prioritize non-violent crime people out before you prioritize? Or by health, if it's like a 70-year-old man or woman that's in prison, maybe relocate them or something like that, rather than, hey, you know, this 23-year-old guy that goes around killing people, that's, you know, he's perfect to let him out, let's do it. You know, he learned his lesson. Like,
I also don't understand is that you would think actually like the prisoners would be like a very sterile environment. You know, like you're not letting anything in there.
Well,
if you know,
it's not
did something
them.
happen? I don't.
That's the problem. Because one of my sisters is a nurse
Letting drugs,
in a
they
prison.
sneak stuff in.
Like, she's like in the Las Vegas jail, and she's a nurse there. And she said that it's not the nurses that are getting COVID, and it's not the people coming to jail that have it. Is literally the prison guards and like the correction officers. A lot of them are getting it and then giving it to people there. She said that's like who was spreading it at her jail, but they weren't like mass letting people out though. It was.
Did they let out Michael Cohen? I can't remember.
I think
Michael Cohen was trying to get out.
Yeah, I think they let him out, and now he's releasing his book, and he says that he has evidence that Trump asked Putin directly for help.
Of course he did.
Yeah, right. Where did
I mean, if they on my point there is like if they had something on Trump, oh my God, they would want to use that already. Like they would have found it. They spent however millions of dollars like investigating it for Russia, but they probably went through everything else too with a freaking fine-tooth comb. Like, oh my God.
Yeah.
But like, it reminds me of the scene from Spaceballs, where like in the desert with the comb, like we ain't found shit.
Yeah.
Like that's literally
comb the desert.
On him.
Man,
like,
we ain't found shit.
Trump, it's like he wears it on his wrist. That's the thing, is he's like, yeah, he was hopefully he's, you know, redeeming himself or trying to, but like was a womanizer, like loved beautiful women. But I don't think he's a pedophile. You know, like he's just such an easy punching bag right now for America. Mm-hmm. He's like everyone's just so pissed off. I think a lot of people too who realize like, oh crap, Hillary was really bad, and I voted for her. Like it's like that's a lot to deal with. It's a very massive blow to your ego, and I just think Trump's a perfect president right now because he's just like such an easy target, and you can just blame him for everything. Like, you know, and he says like dumb things sometimes, and yeah. He makes it really easy.
Yeah.
But I think it's actually, even though it all seems very crazy right now, like I just think it's all going to be kind of perfect, and it's just a controlled demolition. Really, that's what I was telling George.
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. We were talking about like this was definitely spoken at the Bilderberg meetings, like for sure. Like this is just so orchestrated. It's unbelievable. Like. Just even goes down to like going back to the mask situation. Like I'm right by the park, dude. People are wearing their mask while running in the park. I'm like, bro, that's fucking like you're spitting when you run, bro. Like.
Well, how many people reuse the same mask or don't clean their cotton masks that do nothing?
It's trash, bro. It's trash, but whatever. It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan.
They're just trying to lower the people, and well, it's just so funny because it's like it's hard for them to just be honest with who's dying. You know, like I watch like all press briefings, all the Congress hearings, Senate hearings, but they just refuse to be honest and straightforward, right? Like. They have to be really nice about it. They're like, you know, a lot of old people and people with like heart disease and diabetes. And it's like, and then you'll see like People's Magazine, this perfectly healthy 16-year-old who's 400 fucking pounds. Look, like, it's like, I'm not trying to be a dick, but it's like, you know, the best person that I think kind of put it like, the most clear was Elon Musk. He literally said that when you're looking at this, you have to look at like how long would someone live and what kind of life would they live, right? So if there's 16-year-olds that are athletes dying every single day because of this, that is a pandemic, right? That's horrible. But if you have people that are beyond the average life expectancy dying, or have pre-existing conditions, if you have cancer and you have 4 months to live and you die in 2 months, should you be a COVID death? If you have, like you've already had 3 heart attacks and you have horrible diabetes and you die from this, what do we say is like the actual like COVID cause, or is it there's other things that are causing the death, but COVID is just kind of pushing it along? And then, we've already looked up the statistics of how many influenza deaths have happened since last year. They've dropped by 1/3. So,
Yeah.
What?
like how much do I get into this?
Yeah.
No, yeah. I mean, there was I think it was in 2017, there was like 11,000 deaths from influenza alone in just Texas. Like the Cowboys didn't stop playing football. Like it just all seemed, I think when you do realize like what is happening, like just how much is developing, like from a political standpoint, like Durham investigation and all that stuff. Like when you understand like all of the reasons to take out Trump and to destroy this man and his DOJ and the economy that, he tried to build, like, then you see, okay, why the COVID, why COVID would be used to used as a political tool. As for the numbers and like reporting on the numbers, I mean, one, you gave a hospital an incentive to inflate a number. If you're going to give them funding, if they have X many COVID deaths, then that's like asking people to cheat, basically. I think they've even come out and admitted, yeah, that was a thing. And then I think you also have just like people that are pushing it to create fear, to just keep everybody scared. And when you're scared, then you're really, really like easily controlled. And I think from the beginning, because I understood like all the reasons to hate Trump, it was just very easy for me to see from the get-go, oh God, this is gonna be soft coup attempt number 4, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe. So that's my standpoint. But then again, but I've also been like, oh, maybe. I mean, I believe there's a virus out there and it's killing people for sure. But I just think that I've kind of been able to see through the fear porn. So like I've had a pretty good summer. Like I've actually been a good last few months for me, because I think I'm just not terrified. I'm not living in this constant fear, because I see that all of the stuff being pushed right now, it's not because of like people are concerned about our health necessarily. Although I do think we really needed to revise the way that we do respond to a virus. Like I think this was good for us in a lot of ways. We needed to kind of sterilize ourselves across the board, and put in place like new regulations or lift regulations like telemedicine. Like I think this was kind of like the pin, maybe that popped the balloon. Like it was like there was a lot that needed to happen, or that was going to happen. But
it's a good trial run.
But I think a lot of it is political. A lot of the what we're hearing is political, of course.
But because this honestly would have been a different. I was just a quick comment. This would be totally different if it was an election year. If this happened 2 years ago, things would have been the approach.
Or if Fauci didn't say 2 years ago that Trump is going to have to deal with a virus.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was also going to say. Like, what do you think of like this Fauci and like Bill Gates type of like this thing?
I don't know. I don't even like waste my time looking into the connections, because I know that those connections exist in the world. Like I'm not trying to prove to myself that like people conspire to make money. Like I know that that's a thing, and like if it happens, I'm just not. It's the same thing with the Wayfair stuff. I haven't even spent a second really researching that because I don't care if it's, I mean, I care obviously, but I know that there are 100 Wayfarers. If that's not true, there are plenty other operations that look just like that. So I'm not like, I don't need to prove that to myself. I don't know what Fauci's doing. I don't know about the Bill Gates thing. There is some weird stuff about Bill Gates. Like if you, I don't know, like he had yeah, we could go down that hole, but on the surface level, look at what Fauci was saying when the virus was spreading in the U.S. and he's sitting there talking about how masks don't do anything. And it's like, how can did we just like all of a sudden have like a revolution in science and learn that actually no masks are in fact like the way to go? Like they're clearly, you know, they're saying things because I don't know. Yeah. It's really hard to trust these people. Let's just say that.
Amen to that. Yeah.
Well, obviously, they're going back on their word. It's to the point where fact checkers will tell you, well, that information was pertinent 6 months ago, but it's not nowadays. Sorry, you know, the scientific revolution just happened just a few months ago, and it's kind of ridiculous.
Like I thought that on Twitter, they're like, science has advanced greatly in the last 3 months. I'm like, dude,
yeah,
that is your argument.
Yeah, good job, thanks. But you know, it's one of those things where, like, look at like the lockdowns, the quarantines. Obviously, it's not working. If it keeps going up, and you know, like California had record days during the lockdowns. Record days. They were on a 1 month lockdown. Okay, and from the 15th to the 15th. And in the middle, the exact middle, 15 days in, they said, oh my God, we just had, Gavin was like, oh, we just had a record again. We had 13,000 cases in a day. And
we had 13,000 cases 2 days ago, Darius.
Again, it happens.
Like,
apparently, lucky number 13, I guess, you know?
Like,
Psycho
dude.
Gavin Newsom.
Like, yeah, but of course there's going to be a bunch of, I mean, everyone calls Trump he's so stupid for saying that. Like, for saying, of course there's going to be more cases if there's more tests, but I'm like, where is he wrong? I don't get how that is stupid. I have my friends at work who are like, yeah, I'm getting a test, and I'm like, I guess it's just a thing. We're getting tests now. I didn't know that was a thing. Like you just get your test. Well, that's why the numbers are going up, because people are going and getting tested. Like people don't really need to are going and.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. I don't really understand that. I don't understand how, like, to me, the death count, that's all I care about. And all I care about is the fact that the death count is now, this was a month ago, so I'm sure it's down now, maybe it's changed, down 90% from its peak. And you have 50% of those deaths are happening in nursing homes. And if you're, under the age of 20, you're more likely to get struck by lightning than you are to die of COVID. Or if you're under the age of 25, I think it is, you're more likely to drown. Like, the people that are teaching in school, like most of those the workforce and the kids are under the age of 60. Like it's but the reason it's all crazy, and I was talking to my parents about this. It's like it's evil even, but it needs to happen. Like people need to see this. There are people in the world, unfortunately, and I don't blame them, because they just don't have the time. They don't have time. Like, when you're working 9 to 5 and you just want to go home and, like, rest and maybe watch a good show before you eat, like, you don't have time to sit there and critically analyze every headline and every piece of news that you get, you know? So it's, I don't even know where I was going with that, but
No.
Yeah.
Well, I don't think it's just time. It's also, like, it's straining. Like, it's mentally, physically, and emotionally, and spiritually. It's a strain on your body and your mind and your spirit. Like, because more you dig, deeper the hole gets, and more the impact on you becomes. So.
Right. Well, and I remember going. It's like people just need to see. They need to see the insanity of the news media. Like they need to see. 3 months ago, they're telling you that a drug, HQC, that's been approved for 50 years by the FDA or whatever it is, or decades. Like they're making people question whether or not that's effective, and then it comes out, 3 months later, oh, actually, like it is working. Like, what about those people in the 3 months that didn't take it because they were listening to what CNN was saying? And CNN's only saying that because Trump said it was good. Like, I think there's a lot of those little things happening for people right now, and they're like, wait, that doesn't make sense. And I think it's just every time that happens, you lose a little bit of trust, with people, with your viewers. And I just think that keeps happening for people. And what's fun to watch is like when I really have only recently started posting on Facebook again, but you can see people who really have been super quiet, like have never post on Facebook, are just starting to put things out there. And a lot of people, I think even on the left right now, who are maybe questioning like what still identifies them to the party, like are being really, really loud. And I think it's like, because people are all going through the process, if they haven't already, of, I don't know, just it's not even a left or a right thing. I think just like right now in this current environment, like, yeah, the news media, CNN, MSNBC, it's like they're allied with the DNC. You know what I mean? Like that's just the way it is right now. But it's not about party lines. It's just like kind of seeing how fake the media is in general. And you need something like this to happen for people to just start to question things, because otherwise you don't really have time.
Yeah,
I totally
absolutely.
understand.
Uh-huh.
I don't blame anybody.
Mm-hmm.
But now I'm kind of like, all right, guys, all right, you're running out of time. There's no more excuses for some of you. Like,
Yeah,
come on,
for real.
wake up.
We have a friend out here that we're like trying to push over the edge on this, but like it's taken. Like I just gave up on it. Darius still tries to talk to him
Well,
about it.
I
I'm
know
just
how to
like,
approach it. George just like yells in his face, like, "Yeah, you don't believe this conspiracy, you fool!" And it's like, and then
Yeah,
I'm just
you have
like,
to
"Hey,
realize.
man, let me give you some evidence. Like, let me ask you something. Is this weird?" Or, "Hey, it's super weird. I like did some math today, and I learned from my teacher that like, steel melts at this and no, but it's kind of like I try to feed people information, rather than just be like, hey, because again, you can't just wake anybody up, like just pull the plug, right? You just pull the plug in the Matrix, you pull the plug, they
I
die.
learned that.
So,
I feel like that's how it worked for me, man.
well, George, you were around me and David, which is the
Yeah,
guy I'm about to
alright.
post his episode. I mean, Joe Gardner, sorry.
Yeah.
And some people are, just, busy or engulfed, or they don't want to know what's true. They're just
Yeah.
afraid of the truth.
It's too much information to digest sometimes.
Mhm.
Like you literally, like, I took a year off from working. Like I still there's still, like, I still feel like I could have more time just to try to digest some of this. But I agree with you. It's just a lot. It's a lot of information, and some of it's like, yeah, it's not easy. It's not
Yeah.
easy.
The truth isn't sought after nor accepted by the faint of heart.
That's another good one. I like to say
I
a
made
lot.
that one up.
Enlightenment is oh,
Yeah,
that's
there
good.
you go.
I didn't make this one up. A wise man once said, "Enlightenment is a destructive process." I like to remind myself that a lot when I have friends that are like, "I'm liking you on Facebook." Like, I'm like, I love you.
I had friends call me and ask me if they don't put the black square on Instagram, are they racist? So I was like,
I like just didn't log. I post maybe like once a year.
uh-huh.
So I think I kind of got away with like not being on Instagram because I like literally wasn't.
You're like, I didn't even know that was happening. Like,
yeah.
Yeah,
But,
that one was funny. It was like, hey, everyone, the black cube of Saturn, it's important. But no, it's not. It's like, I like these memes that are like, hey, your revolution isn't a revolution when 99% of all business, like large corporations are backing you.
yeah. When
Hey,
Chase
yeah,
thinks
we have
about-
Uyghur slaves, but black square, hee hee,
Yeah.
Oh,
Like obviously,
follow the black square.
conservatism is the new counterculture. People don't want to admit it yet, but that's the truth.
Yeah, and it's.
And I'm like,
I don't know
it's
when
really punk rock.
older
Yeah.
white conservative men became the funny people in the world. Like, how are they the comedians now? Like, and I'm like, when I was growing up, I'm like, everyone made fun of them, and now it's like, they're like, we can't make fun of people, and they're like, well, we will. It's just so weird. It's because again, I grew up in California. I grew up around liberals. Like everyone I know, like one of my sisters was like super punk rock. She used to spike her hair huge. She knew like, actually knew the people from NoFX, like Rage Against and all that. And now she's like super conservative and just like, oh yeah, kids are dumb, so it's, we do go through change, and we do evolve as people, and as long as you allow yourself to evolve. And it's sad to say that like people like me and George, we're centrists, right? There's two centers, right? There's the anti-center and the regular center, and we're regular, we're not anti. The anti is like where the right and left actually go up and meet again, right? And
you guys have been on the Reddit, like that Reddit, what does it do? Like where you stand politically?
No.
I forget what channel it is. But
No.
it's funny, you're doing the diagrams, so go ahead.
No, yeah, well, no, it's something that actually, like, I had a history teacher tell me, like, 10 years ago. We had this conversation about right and left and how it's not linear, it's a circle, actually. Because authoritarian is always at the top, so no matter how far left or right you go, you hit authoritarian. That's why they had to make up totalitarian communism, was because there's no such thing as communism. There's always going to be an oligarchy or some sort of dictatorship that controls everything, right? And so people like me and George, though, because we're centered and we can look at both sides, we're like, hey, I'm liberal here, but I'm conservative here, whatever. Automatically, you're like, you're a conservative because you don't believe in these ideals. Like, you're
alt-right.
not where you're alt-right. You don't have a black cube. You alt-right, son of a bitch, neo-Nazi. It's like, what? Like, no.
They're gonna make people go all right just because that's the rebel thing to do. Like,
they
like
are
that's
doing,
not a good reason to do it. But like, it's like I've seen the younger people, like I guess not the younger people, what are they? On TikTok or whatever, they're woke. They're funny and they're woke. Like this Antifa thing, it I don't know. It skipped a generation, but like, yeah, I have faith, I would say, in our youth. I don't know. I think
oh my God, don't get me started. I have a 17 and 15 and 14-year-old niece and nephew, and I'm like, oh fuck, they might be fucked.
See, it's funny that you get that, but my
oh shit.
Aiden that's about to go to college, and he's totally different. Like my nephew,
yeah,
he's like super like, oh fuck these idiots. He's always like texting us like, did you hear what happened? Idiots. Like, and he's really smart though. He's like going into pre-med, so he's fucking it's borderline genius.
It's a 50-50 chance, man.
Yeah.
Like I have focus, or I have faith in my 15-year-old nephew, but like his sister and both his sisters are just like super soft, and I'm like, yo, you guys are from New York, like toughen up.
New York's
man.
not what it used to be.
That makes perfect sense. Yeah. That explains it. What are you talking about? That's hilarious. No, I don't know what we were going with that, but I have faith. I don't know if I'm just an optimist, but yeah, I think it'll be good. I think that I'm dying to know what happens with this frickin' election. Like my prediction is they're gonna come out and say that Biden he's tested positive for COVID.
I said that.
But they're gonna
I called that
they're
already.
gonna wait a little bit before. Okay, well I tweeted a long time ago, so we'll see who actually was first.
Whoa, hey,
Just kidding.
Different time zones.
I was like taking bets on when they say Biden tested positive for COVID and they have to cancel the first debate.
Well,
there's no way. I won't even let myself get excited for the debate. That's not gonna happen.
So two things that might help you with your theory. He admitted he has not tested yet. He hasn't. He admitted it. Exactly. And they're like, shit, get him off stage, hurry up. And two, they said that they already set up the Kamala Harris and Pence for October 7th-ish. One of those. Early October. I keep forgetting the exact date. So, I've been telling George, I was like, dude, he's going to get COVID because, they're going to pull him out. It's going to be her. Hillary's going to swing in as the VP because she's going to pull a Cheney. She's going to be the puppet master. And we all know, I have nothing against Kamala personally because I don't know her, but things that I know about what she has done, she's very controlled, and how she's so flip-floppy. It's like a seal flip-flopping around out there. Every time she speaks, it's something does. She's saying something else. It's totally different. It's ridiculous.
She's just like you're a politician.
Yeah. Perfect politician.
I think I did predict though that I predicted she would be the candidate. Not that I did not see that one coming. I'll be honest with you. But I remember because everyone was saying Elizabeth Warren at the time, and I texted my brother. I'm like, this is not true. It's gonna be Kamala Harris, and let me show you why. But yeah, so I wasn't surprised by the VP pick. In fact, I thought when they did the what was it, Politico, where they picked her or whatever. I'm like, they're just doing that to like gauge people, and, like see how people react. I feel like they do that a lot, where they like fake leak something. I guess she passed, but it still doesn't make sense. Like we're this year, you know, it's all about crime reform, and I mean, you've got some people are calling her kindergarten cop, and Biden who did the crime bill. It's too rich.
Well,
but I would love to see a debate. I just don't think it's going to happen.
A problem I do have with a lot of politicians do this. I'm not going to just say it's left-wing politicians, because there are right-wing politicians that have done this and do this continually. But something that's come more apparent, that at least like Republicans kind of get in trouble a lot more and get called out more, but Democrats like to tell you what they're doing but blame someone else for it. That's something I've kind of realized in the last 4 years, you know, actually ever since Clinton, really. But they try to say, like, look, hey, they'll blame someone for something and say they're doing something, make an accusation. But then it comes to find out they're doing it. And that's more of like not even just like a Democrat thing. That's like a lot of people do that.
I was gonna say it's like it's hard to be like the left, because what we're seeing is situational. You're seeing you know, Obama camp or Hillary basically projecting their crimes over the last 3 years onto the Trump administration. That's just like out of self-defense. You know, they're just trying to save their asses. But so it's hard to be like all liberal.
Well, yeah, that's why it's hard to.
All Democrats, it's not, you know.
No, that's the problem. Like, that's not what I really mean.
You're right. That's what's been happening.
The problem is, it's people in power are doing that and always do that. And what I'm trying to get at is like at least when like the we'll just say this, when like conservatives do something wrong, at least the media like admits that they're doing something wrong. But when, you know, Democrats do something wrong, they will not admit it, at least, you know. That's kind of like what I'm trying to get at. It's not saying that they both don't do it, because if you've ever talked to me or George, and George could back me up, I don't like 99.9% of politicians are all fucking scumbags. Most people in power, most people with money, power, anything more than $5 in their pocket suck. So that's the problem. People just, you know, they have this power and they think that they're better than they are. And they're all sociopaths and sadists that really don't empathize like they say they do. They don't even sympathize with us because they can't. But that's just...
No, they can't. But they all have they you know, love to share their opinions. Like, same things with, you know, like Hollywood actors, you know, who love to comment on middle America from their mansions, but...
Like, we're all in the same boat. It's pronounced yacht.
Yeah.
But with the left, your point about the left, though, like, it actually kind of when you break it down, like what you have like a CNN, right? Let's say if it's like Fox News versus CNN and MSNBC. CNN is like they're left leaning, right? And they're more pro-government. It kind of makes sense when you think about it, like back to Operation Mockingbird, right? When you literally have like CIA plants in the media, you're obviously those plants are going to be pro-government because they're working for a government branch. Like, if it really just shouldn't shock people, like why maybe the left or why CNN, MSNBC for so long was defending the intelligence agencies that were spying on Trump, which, you know, I'm sure that still really hasn't come to fruition in the news. Like, I think Obamagate still has yet to be exposed. Like, that was just one domino with Kevin Kleinsmith coming out and admitting that he falsified the FISA documents. Like, yeah.
Well, like, going back into Democrat, like, how it was like a couple days and since Bill Clinton got outed for being with those two young women, and then like 2 days later they put him on the DNC speaker list. And I'm like, what the fuck?
He paid his dues. That's how you get on there. No, but it's
I was just like, dude, like you got called out. Like if this was Trump being said like, oh, he was with two young women, dude, going back
so.
into like that.
Can I rephrase what I was saying? It's
Yeah.
at the moment, especially in the last 4 years, it's less the liberal Republican. It's more of everyone and then Trump, right? Like because Trump isn't like he may be an elitist, but he's not their club elitist, right? He's not in the same exact club as them because, like you mentioned,
That's what makes him a threat.
Yeah.
That's what makes him a threat because he knows the shenanigans, but he's willing to tell on him. That's what happened in 2009. He was the only person that helped the FBI investigate Epstein. And then now there's that video going around in like 2015 where he calls out Prince Andrew. No wonder all of them were like, this man cannot be president, and if he does become president, we need to put in place mechanisms that ensure that we get him out of that position because
he knows too much. He's
met
met everybody. I can get you a picture of any celebrity, rich person, bad person, good person, regardless of what colors, who they are. He has a picture with every single important person in the world. And so it's like, obviously he has ties to everyone. He understands the shenanigans. And he's not one of them. It's like people are like, hate him. Oh, he's a rich old white man. But like, what about Nancy Pelosi that has $150 million in the bank? She made money. She's one of the signatures on the Patriot Act to help push it through for Cheney. And she makes money off of defense contracts. What? We all forget about that sometimes. Like, and it's like, she's going to die in the next 5 years. What is she going to do with the goddamn money? Like, at this point, it's just like going into your family and your, lineage. Or unless it's like that Hereditary movie where it's like the grandma goes into the granddaughter and she's an evil witch or something. But, and it's like the problem is, the thing that I've liked about the Trump presidency, and a lot of people can't really see this, but there's still a lot of people kind of realizing it is all a game. They are all against you. They all, you have Mitt Romney trying to block subpoenas, right? And you have, all these people working against each other that Republicans working against Republicans, that it's not really so much anymore. It's the party, it's the power, right? They want to retain power. Why are there so many people that have been in politics for so long? You have Feinstein, 60 years in politics. 20 years of those was with a Chinese spy that she worked with. Literally every time she was talking about things in the car, they're like, hold on, let me write that down. And it's like, are you fucking kidding me? She made...
Like, literally, it's like a House of Cards episode. Yeah. Like, it's just too good.
It's all... That's the craziest part about life.
Good play.
It's all... we always joke like saying like there's too many coincidences until it's impossible, and it's just like, at what point are we going to realize like this is all a game, this is all a show, and this is all some facade to keep us controlled? You mentioned earlier it's all about dividing people. They continue to divide and divide and divide, and that's how they control us. And then are enough of us though that are trying to speak out, but we don't know what's going to happen next.
I think it's literally one person at a time. Like, it's one person at a time. And I'm like, oh, like I have like these grand ideas about how you can affect change and help wake people up and all that. But really, like, it starts at home. Like I start at home, but like within your network, like I don't like posting up. I don't like posting up on Facebook. Like I'm not like, ooh, Facebook. I like literally. It feels like I am doing like a public service at this point, just helping get information out there to my immediate network. And again, a lot of my, my college is very liberal. Like all of my friends who I know are smart, and I know that they respect me enough to know that I'm not just batshit, and they might think twice and just go and do a little bit more research. Like, I think if we all just try to, like, even if you get yelled at and called alt-right and racist and all that stuff, like, I think if the people who are awake, like, just get out there, talk to your friends, register some people to vote. No.
Yeah, right. Maybe. That's what it's turning into.
Like that. That I think it's a ripple. It's a ripple effect. But I've been monitoring, I don't know, like the information field, whatever the hell you want to call it, for like the last 3 months. Twitter trends, as bullshit as they are. Like, I've been like they're, I don't know. I just feel like if I had like a graph of like it's happening, like I feel like it's happening, and in terms of people waking up, and a lot of it is ugly because we're literally, it's like the nation as a whole is just like oozing. Our pores are just like oozing out all this crap. Like I said before, we're lucky we have Donald Trump as the president. We can keep making fun of him, and it's kind of like a comic relief, you know. But I think he's perfect for this role, to just come in like a freaking wrecking ball, because that's what needed to happen. And it wasn't going to be fun or pretty, but
shake the status
at least
quo.
he's funny.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's why I wish more people were a little bit more like open-minded, because once you like, I wasn't pro-Trump by any means, didn't vote for him, but I remember when he walked on stage, I was awake at like 3 a.m. and I was like, what the hell is happening? And he walks out with like his ragtag family, just the most like awkward group I've ever seen. His kids like can't keep his eyes open. I'm like, this is the most awkward thing I've ever seen. I kind of like it. It's like, I kind of like it. So raw.
Yeah.
This is so raw. I've always been so like not anti-establishment, but I knew there was a swamp. I didn't know how freaking gross it was, and like what sort of swamp creatures existed there, but I knew there was a swamp. And so for me, it was kind of like, oh yeah, what do we have to lose? Like, this could be really interesting, and I hope we don't get into a war with Korea. But once you just at least say, yeah, I'm gonna give him a chance, then it's just like, oh my god, it opens your mind to so many things, and then it's fun, and then you're like, you get his jokes and you get his humor, and you realize that it's not this like racist asshole in the White House like tweeting evil things to be a jerk. Like, it's literally, he's helping us heal, and people aren't seeing that right now, but I can, and I think that's why I can keep a smile on my face for the most part these days. There's a lot of good stuff happening.
Yeah, no new wars either.
Yeah.
So no one.
No.
It is, you know, I don't know. What I try to take as yeah, I try to take as a win, which is to get someone to question at least. I think that's kind of like the biggest thing about this podcast. The biggest thing that when I talk to people, post things, is it's not really to convince them, but it's to question them. If you can get them to question, then they can start opening their mind more. If you just try to give them too much bullshit information and honesty, they just like shut down. I can't handle this. I'm a non-player character. And I do admit, Trump is funny as shit. Like, he's really funny. He's the biggest troll on earth. He pays the troll toll. Like, he literally is the biggest troll, and it's like, the left gets so angry. You know, the media, right? Let's say the media, right? Like, CNN will write 15 articles off of just like 6 of their fucking writers are writing articles off of like, oh, he drank the water with one hand and threw it. And they're like, when was that funny? It's called slapstick. It's been around forever. Well, you've never seen Chris Farley? You fucking, no wonder why you have a stick up your ass.
Oh, I wish Chris Farley were alive right now. I think about, I've had that thought recently. I'm like, what would Chris Farley be doing right now? What would he say?
He'd be playing Trump on SNL.
Right. Yeah, he would. It'd be awesome.
You know who I really, really like right now? Also a bigger white guy, Tom Dillon. Hilarious.
Tim Dillon?
Yeah.
Tim Dillon?
He was just on Rogan.
Sorry.
Yeah, he's hilarious.
I'm like the worst with names. I'm so bad with names. But
we were supposed to go to his March show, but yeah.
I saw him in New York. My friend who worked with actually, like, they knew him, so I got him for free. But I didn't know him at all, and I was dying. He's exactly. He goes there, and he's smart. That's why he's funny, because he's really, really smart. He's informed.
Yeah.
But
yeah, he's done some crazy shit. Like, he dressed up as like Epstein Island on Halloween. He literally was a little girl knocking on Epstein's door. Like, yeah, he did something to comedy that was important. Like, he showed like, hey, you can still be crazy. Comedy's not supposed to be like tiptoeing. Like, comedy literally comes from dark comedy. True comedy is dark comedy, and it's supposed to make you feel emotion, make you feel uneasy, because that's what laughter comes from. It's not like, it's, I don't know, that's like, but I grew up with like George Carlin, you know. That was like one of my favorite comedians. I grew up with all types of just people that couldn't get away with this shit. Like, Coming to America, I used to watch that as like 4 years old, like laughing. You know, like nowadays you could not make that movie. But
oh my god, no. You couldn't even make episodes of The Office these days. Like, what?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've gone so far. But I think that like with anything else, the pendulum will go back to normal.
It always
You know,
swings.
hopefully, we'll see. But I don't know. But one day, and you guys are gonna be huge podcasters. Rogan's gonna have to worry about you guys.
Yeah, I know he's coming to my state. Actually, I was telling George, like when he opens up his comic, because he's trying to make his comedy store out there. So I'd be like, hey, what's up, Rogan?
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, he's actually really small. I met him in real life too. Like
exactly, really small.
No, like him, like Eddie Bravo and all them. Like they're really like, because you would think like when you look at Joe Rogan, he's always sitting down. He's like buff, you know.
Yeah.
He's like 5'7", I think.
I've spent time on Google just like staring at him with his family, like just paparazzi.
Yeah, his wife's like 6'2".
Yeah, next to his wife. Oh my god, it's crazy.
Yeah, but they're really nice. They're cool people. They're real people. They're not crazy. Like, oh, don't look at me, don't talk to me.
Like David Spade.
Yeah. Well, David Spade's weird. He also whispered in my ear one time.
Wait, what?
Yeah, David Spade. I've had like multiple encounters. I've worked at like high end places through like Orange County and all over the place, right? Even Phoenix, and he's like a regular in Phoenix, and like he would come into our steakhouse all the time with his family, but he'd be wasted. He'd go golfing all day and get wasted, right? And I remember one day I'm like, because you had to like bend over, like, or because they would get mad because I pop lock and squat it down and like type like things in, and they're like, you can't. I'm like, fine, I'll bend over. So I'm like bending over, like trying to type in orders, and like I see him coming up, and I'm like, oh hi, hello, like, because I've met everyone, Mick Jagger, like all of the famous people at the places I've worked. It's like whatever to me, and he like goes, ugh. And then I was like, okay, whatever. I ignored it, and he goes in my ear and he goes, I said. And then like I'm bent over and he comes behind me and he's like, I said in my ear. I was like, what the fuck? I was like, dude, what the hell? He's like,
he was that being funny or like coming on to you?
I think both. I'm just glad he wasn't John Travolta, because it would be coming on. But, yeah, it's, I don't know. But John Lovitz is cool. He's really nice and funny. Like some people, like, I don't know. Everyone's different. Like you have some people that think they're gods. Like I ran into Beyonce one time at the Ritz, and she had to take the access ways, like the servant ways, because she's too great to walk through the normal halls. She doesn't let people see her, you know. And it's like, you're just some normal person, man. Her hair is so big and fake, though. She looked like Shakira was, like, on her head, like, holding on. Because it's, like, this, like, long flowing. It flows. It, like, there's no wind, and it's still flowing. And then she had, like, some 7-foot fucking security guard, and Blue Ivy was with her. And the security's like, stay back.
That's a cute kid.
Mm-hmm.
I would wonder about.
Well, I'm like, please don't look. I always feel bad. It's like, if you look like Jay-Z, your life's gonna be hard. Luckily, you're rich, but like.
I always wonder about that, like celebrity kids. How like when they get older, we're gonna feel so old. Like it's gonna be weird. Like I always think Kanye. Like when Northwest is old, I'm gonna be like, ugh, I don't like this.
Okay, look it. You're 22 years old. You don't know what it's like. You're not even old. Okay.
What do you think of the Kanye run?
I support it.
Okay. I think it's another wrench in the cogs. Obviously, the Republicans love it because they're trying to fuck with the Democrats. They're doing that's what they're doing. That's why they're helping them. But what's so foolish of everyone is Kim and Kanye worked with Donald Trump on the First Step Act and different prison reforms already. People are like, oh, imagine having them work in the White House. And it's like, they have been, actually. They're the reason, they're helping people get out of prison for drug laws and nonviolent crimes. Like, it's these people that one day will be like, oh my God, they're so great. I love them so much. And then the next day they're like, oh my God, what a fucking idiot. He's trying to like go against Trump, like, or Biden or whatever. I don't know. I feel like people just are kind of hypocrites when it comes to it.
What up?
I'm on mute. There was somebody.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Mariachi music.
No, I agree. It's like the people that hate on Kanye. Say what you want about him, but like, he's got his company and all of his music and his family. It's like it's like you're from behind your Twitter account. Like it's just, you're right. There's so much hate. There's so much hate.
Acres in Wyoming.
I understand the like people assuming the
like the collusion, between the Trump admin and Kanye. But I think Kanye is like in it for him, to be honest. And I think he wants to be that figure that woke up the African American community to, how they have been treated by the Democratic Party over the last however many years. Like, I think he wants to be that guy. Like, same thing with Trump. With Trump, like, he's not doing, like, they're both doing this for egotistical purposes. But in the end, like, if there's a God, wouldn't he want you to give your service to the world through service to self? Like, isn't that, like, you know what I mean? Like, isn't that the true, like, well, I don't know. I think there's a lot of good that can come out from people like Kanye being so freaking ambitious and as crazy as he is. Same thing with Trump. But I don't think people understand them. I think people just have a hard time even beginning to understand the way someone like Kanye thinks when he wakes up in the morning.
The Harriet Tubman thing threw people off, but then you look into the Harriet Tubman thing and you're like, oh, he was actually...
Well, it's not... Okay, this is the biggest problem. It's not even so much what he's saying. It's that you're getting little tiny clips and little tiny tidbits. Exactly. It's like, I can literally take this conversation and make you seem ridiculous, okay? And I'm not going to. But seriously, like, anybody can take sound clips, right? Or, like, my favorite thing was you see an article and there's, like, they use the infamous ... Like, it's hilarious. It's like, here's 2 words out of literally 500 words that he said. And if you take anything out of context, it's wrong.
They know they only have to write the headline. They know people just have to read the headline.
Clickbait. People like instant gratification. They don't. And here's another problem. People really have a problem working the long game, right? They think of instant gratification. What can I do now to help me? And this is kind of like issues that our government has and our people have. They like to just do the quick fix. Here's a Band-Aid. No, sew it up, okay? Like, let's fix it and do it properly.
Sew it up.
Yeah. But he is right about a lot of things. And the biggest thing that he's trying to say is, like, don't fall into the media trap of you have to be this way because you're black. Okay, that is, it's like, I'm half Hispanic and half white, and like I barely know Spanish, and they're always like, how do you not, you're not Hispanic if you don't know Spanish. It's that same stereotype that, like, if you don't do something a certain way, it's like, try my cooking, bitch. But if you don't do something a certain way, you're not this, right? And it's a mindset that's not just like left or right. That's just a human mindset. People do that, and it's good for him to tell people, like, no, don't do that. You don't have to. Look into it. Stop just falling into a trap. Like, how many times are you gonna go back? He's gonna cheat. He's gonna keep cheating on you. They could tell you anything you want with good words, but that doesn't mean like it's gonna change anything.
Exactly. Yeah, I have to say that I remind my mom. Both of them came a really, really long way on Trump, and now they, I think they're on the same page as I am. But my mom will call me. She's like, I don't know why he had to say that. Why couldn't he just? And I know there is a lot of, like, things that he's not thinking through and just saying, but there are a lot of reasons why he does say certain things the way he does, whether that's like totally dumbing down a topic and just making it make sense to 50% of the country. There are other times where he will literally say something that's just stupid enough to where he knows the media is going to create an entirely new news cycle about that topic, whether, call it, you could literally pick anything. I think HQC is a good one, but like where he'll say something to where it makes you, like, your first thought or the media's first reaction is to go in and create a news cycle attacking him, but then a week later, it comes out that he's right. So I think what a lot of people have a problem under, like, the people who I think are struggling right now are the ones that think.
You went out again.
Just like so dumb.
Okay.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for like 2 seconds.
Me now?
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, it says Ain't is your name Ain't? Yeah, Ain't is using a device that could record or broadcast this call.
Yeah, that's called the Navid. It just gives you a warning that I'm watching you. The government can watch you without that warning, but
No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, no, I kind of forgot what I was saying, but like,
oh, kind of like how he's dumbing down things or saying things a certain way.
yeah. Just I think like, oh yeah, people still think he's really, really stupid, and those people need to go like look and see what he was doing, how he was manipulating the media before he was ever president, like how he would plan stories and he would get. Like, he was having fun with it. He was like punking the media before he was ever president, and like to think that he just magically forgot how to do that is intellectually lazy. I think people need to go do their research on the man, because but I don't again, don't blame anybody for feeling the way they do, because like you're right, it is the news media that will clip up or give you these 2-3 second clips, and like they can make you sound really bad. And then when you like do that over and over and over again, it's literally programming. People have been like programmed to just like detest this person.
It's literally brainwashing. That's what brainwashing is. You continue to tell someone a certain thing over and over and over again until they're like, okay, that's what it is. Like,
no, they're doing your job for you. There are stories that where you don't. It's a totally neutral topic, and you're just like, ugh, stupid Trump. It's like, because you've been programmed, and that it like you have to.
MK Ultra.
Yeah, you have to. Oh, you know what you guys need to watch is I believe his name is Tom O'Neill. It's the what's his name? Yeah, Tom O'Neill did or just put out a book. Took him 20 years to write, and he did an interview with Joe Rogan, I think like 3 months ago. And he covers the Charles Manson story and talks about how he's tied in with the CIA and how they were basically giving him a jail out of free card every time he went to prison, but that it was tied to an agent in the CIA through the MK Ultra program. They were like giving basically like street people LSD out in their clinic, like the Haight-Ashbury clinic, like gets into it. So much information. I mean, it took him 20 years to write it, but like anyone who has anyone who's like, MK Ultra's fake, like just watch that.
No.
You will, if you sit through it, it forces you to actually like. If you see what happened in that case, then you will be, I think, a lot more open-minded to some of the other things that might be considered a conspiracy right now.
Mm-hmm. I think Disney and Nickelodeon do that to their child actors. Yeah, because you have like Selena Gomez posting about Stacey, like putting out, I don't know, she has like crazy millions of followers on Instagram, and she puts out a picture of Stacey Abrams and explaining who Stacey Abrams is. I was like, why are you putting out, like, she didn't do shit. Like,
but that's not MK Ultra. That's just dumb.
Yeah.
I think it's a cult.
Dumb K Ultra.
Selena Gomez, I think I see her in like a Twitter ad or something. She's doing like a cooking show. I was like, you're perfect for that. Mm-hmm. Like, she'll be a perfect next Rachel Ray.
Yeah.
She's doing well, but there are plenty of cases. Sorry.
Yeah.
In particular, I think she's okay. But yeah, Britney Spears, like, what was that when she?
Yeah, we had a weird episode on that one. There's some weird things going on with her right now.
I did watch your episode on that.
Yeah, it was cousin with the NY, and he was talking about it. But yeah, like, there's some weird cloning.
Well, no, some people think she's a clone or she's just having issues, and best case scenario, they broke her mentally, and rebuilt her as a person, and like. With the MK Ultra and like what the government has done, there's so many books that have come out to like from like the 60s to the 90s, right? There's been just so much our government has done that you don't know about, right? I'm not even saying about nowadays, like obviously there's a lot that we know, but there's stuff before our time that is just unfathomable, especially during like the Red Scare and with the the government has done some crazy things. Some very shady things.
A lot of them were from Project Paperclip. They were the old Nazis that we brought.
Yeah,
Nazi scientists. Over.
You get this like narrative that like they're coming out with shows on Amazon recently where they're like, we're Nazi hunters, we killed Nazis. It's like you killed some like dude that was like a cook. That was a Nazi cook, you didn't kill some high-ranking officer, like what obviously the ones that got away,
That's
right?
Show. That's a show.
And, well, it's not literally they kill the cook, but like they think there's a show with Al Pacino where he's like a Nazi hunter in the 80s. It's based on true stories. But it's like in Argentina right now, there are like more Germans in Argentina than anywhere on the fucking world right now. It's insane. And it's just funny that it's like we took and Russia took the scientists. Actually, a lot came to us because they're like, hey, we're gonna have like horrible lives with the Russians. So they surrendered to Americans. But the Operation Paperclip was years. It wasn't just right away. It's not like right when World War II ended, we're like, hey, come on, Nazis. Like, it was years that we were taking different scientists and Nazis. And, you know, I've argued that we're the Fourth Reich with what we have done, and our deep state is what's controlled by, you know, former Nazis or former Reich members. Yeah, it's crazy that there's literally a parallel of what's really happened in the movie Winter Soldier, Captain America, then that it's almost like true. And I tell George all the time, I'm like, they put truth out there to make truth seekers look crazy. Like, oh, it's a movie. That's Hollywood fantasy, you crazy person. But it's like, no, you're using it for one to make us think like, or to kind of like normalize it, and two, to kind of get away with it. So I don't know.
Yeah, for sure. There's one where like you have to, well, what is it like? I guess in the occult, like you have to show what you're doing, right, to the people so that if they were found out, like, we told you. But I think the other side is there's like, I think there's good elements or like white hats that are disclosing information to try to normalize stuff for people. Like with this whole new, like the quantum technology revolution, like it's going to be really hard for people to wrap their mind around the ability to like warp space time. Like, and that's, yeah, that I think that like people are gonna have to watch a lot of movies about that first. There's one what is it, Frequency with Dennis Quaid, that where he like talks to his son in the past. That's what they say like QAnon is like it's basically an instant messaging using the quantum technology. And so like, you know, QES is designed to bring down all of the bad players that they mentioned, but it's like actually it's disclosing that the technology that the military has right now, and that supposedly was in the hands of people who are using it to do bad things. And so that's like, it was basically like this had to come out at some point, or else we literally have the technology to like mind control remotely. If the government, if SpaceX doesn't take this over now, this could get really, really, really bad. So it's the timing of it isn't so much like, oh, it's time to let the people know. It's like, no, it's like we have to do this. The military needs to take over the internet, and that sounds really scary right now, but here's why. Because people were like if you want to talk about false flags and all that stuff, like if the military has the ability to like remotely screw with people's heads, and go watch that interview, because that's not far off. Like, you know, just think about how easily we could be controlled, like on the micro level, but also from like a macro level too, just like through TV and stuff. But that I think that's going to be I think we're going to see a lot of new drip information around quantum technology. And I think there's a coordinated effort in the military, whether you want to call it associated with Q or not, like that is actually like they're starting to wake people up to some of this stuff. And then you have like Elon Musk coming out and tweeting, there is technology out there of which even the greatest technologists like are not aware. You know, like I think we're on the verge of something. I can just feel it, you guys.
You're like, Chloe, you feel it.
Did you guys? So Elon Musk is supposedly working, like not behind Q, but is associated with it.
What?
Do you believe that?
Maybe. Well, it's like this is something that's like in the conspiracy world that kind of like has not stressed me out, but annoys me, is like when they said like, oh, we don't have the technology to do things. No, the reason why, like, for instance, like we haven't gone to the moon or did a lot of space exploration was because of monopoly contracts, right? We were in a contract with Boeing for like 30 years or something ridiculous. That's why the movie Independence Day, they used the same shuttle but just painted it, you know? Like every shuttle's the same, but it's the propulsion system on there is weak, right? And now you have the privatized coming out and saying, no, we can do this. Let's not go through the government because the government does it, and they do contracts. That's how we do it. We say, hey, pay us first, and then we'll give you something in 10 years, and then you keep paying us because we need another 10 years of doing it, right? But I am a true believer that the government is, or at least has their hands on technology that is at least 20 years always ahead of what the private sector has.
I say 50 minimum.
50, okay, maybe. Well, some people argue that, Bill Gates was kind of given, because his mother worked at IBM, his father was like, helped start Planned Parenthood and was like an elitist, and how like his whole story is kind of fabricated, and he was kind of given this like, hey, by the way, you're an elitist, you're gonna be super rich, you're gonna be given this, right? And then how does he go from tech to now he's I literally saw an article saying
he's a great doctor.
One of the best doctors isn't a real doctor right now. Like, it was saying like one of the top doctors in COVID doesn't even have a DRPH or PhD. That's kind of like the madness we're at. But I could see 50 years. It really depends on what
Yeah, I mean,
but
we're trying to close that gap. I think that's what what the latest effort is. Like, yeah, close that gap. Make it so that the public can benefit from some of this.
Who to say that it wasn't 150 years, but they haven't gone past that, but we're just finally starting to catch up slowly, but they've had it forever. Aliens and Stargates and all that jazz.
But the fun stuff, I do think, I think we'll see, I don't know, we'll see that come to light. But yeah, he was, so the guy who is kind of the field operative for QAnon, he's basically like a subcontractor for the DIA, the Defense Intelligence Agency. He's coming out like basically saying, and it's a huge debate in the Q community right now, right? Like, is this guy legitimate or not? If you don't have to take me at my word, but I'm 100% confident that he is who he says he is. And at this point, if he's coming out and doing you would have to be off of your rocker to continue to do this if you weren't legitimate. Like, it's kind of, to me, silly, people who are disregarding him. But
is that Austin Steinbart?
Yeah, Austin Steinbart. Yeah. He's so when he was raided by the FBI for basically starting an online blockade against Datto.com, which is the company that took down some of his files. He was paying them. He calls his files the amorphous archives, but they took down his files without, I believe, giving him notice, whatever. Then he asked his followers to email, to clog their support lines. To me, this all seems like this was coordinated for reasons I can get to. But the FBI then raids his home, so he's actually thrown in jail for a little bit. Before he gets thrown in jail, he had already come out and said, "Okay, this is who I am." And I'd been listening to him. So when he was thrown in jail, I was like, "What the hell?" It was very weird. He had also referenced the fact that Elon Musk through SpaceX is aligned with Q. And so when he was thrown in jail, I remember I responded to one of Elon's tweets, and I just, all caps, "Free Austin." And he replied to it right away. Whoa. And was like, "I agree." And the whole kind of Q world was like, not everybody, but a lot of people who were awake to Steinbart then started going and doing more research on all that. Also around that time, that same week, he changed his photo from his picture to, I forget, it's like some movie where the guy works for the government and fights the Illuminati. He was doing some weird references there, but a lot of people, I think, the reason he responded to my tweet is because I gave him the plausible deniability, which is he could say Austin was in regards to his factory that he's building out there, but that was actually before he even said he was doing it in Austin. So I took it, for me, I was like, oh shit, he knows, and Austin is legitimate. Holy shit. People were like, Shelbie, yeah. I was like, no, you don't understand. This isn't about me. Elon just confirmed this. Oh my god. So that was, yeah. And since then, it was it's just been, what Austin did for me is a lot of the Q stuff. This was stuff people were cared about or interested in. A satanic pedophile ring. This is not revelatory information that Q put out. This has been a thing, and so the people who were awake to it and then have seen this happen are kind of like, oh wow, look at all these dots being connected. Can this be real? Is this too good to be true? And then Austin comes in, and he's really kind of he's tied the dots for me. He is one video I would go watch is Black Ops 101. It's on the CIA, and he talks about the role that McCain had, and really like who McCain was and the power that he had. Then he kind of connected all of these dots for me, and having done my research and knowing like for him to be able to do that, it was like, whoa, oh my God, you just answered so much for me. So he helped me out so much that it's like, okay, this guy's full of shit. This is a psyop. This is like a really good psyop, and he's going after the people that we need to go after. So I don't understand the argument of people who are saying that he is not legitimate. I think there are a lot of people in the Q community that are bad actors or like plants, whatever you want to call it, that are like trying to create division. But I get it. Like Austin, he's not a natural like guy in front of the camera. He's not. You don't be like, I really love listening to that guy talk. Like I can see why people who have been worshiping Q and seeing it as a religion for the last 3 years are like, why are you not some a messiah?
Yeah.
Why are you not like what's his name from the Matrix? Like. So I think it was really hard for people. That was like this kid's 29. This guy's been doing this. Fuck. That's what. And it's not just him, But that was really hard for those people who this is their religion, And the influencers that have been writing books and have been everyone come look at me. Let me see you. Like listen to me dissect the posts. You need me to understand this information. And when you just automatically remove the need for them, they're like. And that's the thing I try to tell people. It's like, no, we all play a part here, just because Austin came out and his role is to come in and now kind of take it to the next level, create attention in mainstream, maybe get more people in the left to read the post, whatever. But it's funny because it's like you're no better than anyone you're criticizing for making this a silly religion and not thinking for yourself and only listening to anonymous posts on a board. Like, it's funny. There are stupid people across the spectrum. Let's just say that, But the people who have been treating it as a religion, I think that's why they're having a hard time with Austin right now because he's not their messiah.
Well, I told George about this guy Dylan Wheeler that was part of the Q community that just like turned on Q, and I said the problem is like someone like him, he's like super 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 religious, and he ended up becoming super 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 religious for Q, Mm-hmm. And these people that anybody who's too extreme or doesn't question anything, I think is a problem, even if they follow what's right, but they don't question it ever, or if they're so blind to anything. That's a problem, and there's a lot of people that are in the Q community that give the Q community a bad name because they are so religiously like, this is what I follow. But
and they're used to like it's just so sad how the media portrays these people. It's just, and that's where it's like, you know what? People are so scared to say that they read Q. It's like ever since I was a little girl, I will even if it's the not cool thing to do, fuck it. Like,
so it makes you cool.
And I don't think right now they're like, oh my God, you're so crazy. Like this is it's not my religion. But yeah, this is history happening right now, and like be a part of it if you want. I think it's really like. I think it's like a once in a generation thing happening right now. Like we're watching, I think what we're seeing is the closing of the chapter on JFK. I think the final act is going to be the unsealing of the JFK documents and the disbanding of the CIA is what this is all leading towards. And if Trump just came out and did that right now, they'd be like, dictator, how can you do that? Like, so the purpose of Q is to just be able to get enough people, like critical mass, to where it's like, oh yeah, this makes sense. This, we've been rotting from within for so long. Let's get rid of the CIA. I think they want to then put in the DIA as like, that would be the replacement. But yeah, I think that's where we're going. is the covering up of the JFK assassination, like a chapter. We're going to close on U.S. history, hopefully. But once the documents, I believe, otherwise they would have frickin' released them by now, show that the CIA, you know, however involved they were in the cover-up, like I think that will maybe be the final red pill for people. But I don't care if you're on the left or the right. Like JFK is a Democrat. Like that should piss you off if you don't. That those documents are unsealed, right? Or sorry, are sealed right now. So, yeah, we'll see.
Hey, look,
I think a lot of conspiracies will become not conspiracy very soon. It's risky to come out and associate yourself with these things, but I think people will be karmically rewarded, hopefully somehow. But you guys are honestly, I'm very impressed with the information you're trying to get out there. So
thank you. Two things real quick. The CIA tried to topple every government in this hemisphere, so why wouldn't they try to not topple our own government? And not only that, God, I just forgot. Never mind.
To bring up on so many other, I've done that like 5 times.
No, it's fine. But that's, yeah, I agree with everything you're saying. There's a lot going on right now. Oh, that's what I was gonna say. So at the beginning of this year, a lot of the truthers were saying this is 2020. 2020 is the year of clarity, right? 2020 is clarity. So, and then everyone's saying, "Oh my God, it's been so crazy. There's no clarity." But I think it has been. A lot of conspiracies that people have known as truthers are like, oh, it's real, are coming to light. A lot of things that people have been trying to hide have come to light. People are starting to realize things. And, even with the COVID pandemic, people are realizing a lot of the, the false narratives, all these conspiracies, people are starting to realize they are not conspiracies. They're literally not. Some are crazy. Some people are crazy. Don't get me wrong. There are crazy people. But for there's
traps everywhere. That's why I was like, I'm not even gonna go on the Wayfair stuff because that was trending on Twitter. Oh, they want it. It's like, yeah.
But I think the whole.
Go ahead.
This might be taken out of context, but by somebody. The whole Wayfair coming to light is a good thing because it just shows that a company or companies have the ability to do the same thing. Even if Wayfair isn't doing it, there could be companies doing it because people are being trafficked, especially children. And so, it at least brings people forward saying, okay, well, maybe this is really happening. It really, it kind of shows you in your face that, okay, there might be people being trafficked. Maybe not through this exactly, but there is a possibility it could be.
It's huge. That's huge. And what you were saying before, like how people aren't recognizing what is coming to light. Like maybe if the truther community might just be generally a little bit more pessimistic than most because they always look for the dark. But I think that's wrong. I think that so much has happened. It's hard because it is being intentionally stretched out over like 3 years or however many years. Like it's slow on purpose so that there isn't a shock to the system. But yeah, like talking about Epstein 2 years ago, that was like taboo.
Yeah.
And now Epstein didn't kill himself.
Yeah.
They have no idea the implications of what they're saying, but that's okay. At least they understand that this is a thing that happens. People maybe now understand the concept of like honeypotting and how are controlled through blackmail. And even maybe a politician who didn't like even know that what they were getting into, like so much is coming out. So if anything, I think it's maybe a good thing that people don't think that it's just hit after hit after hit. Like, I don't know. I think that would just be really stressful for some people. It should be slow. I guess I just like to take life head on and really just get to the heart of things. But for humanity, it'll be better that this stuff is very slow, really slowly.
Yeah, well, most people can't handle it. And, go back to what you said about, truthers being pessimistic. Just because you can see the darkness doesn't mean you don't find beauty and understand its purpose.
Right.
I
am not that way. I'm like, I'm just wondering, like, how can anybody in the truther community like think that this hasn't been, a huge year? But I get it because there's a lot that still hasn't happened. But I'm just kind of impressed with progress made thus far, I guess. But I am worried about a false flag. Oh my God, you said it earlier, and like when the Beirut thing happened, I was like, I had a week before, I was like, I'm just waiting for something to blow. I'm just waiting for something. And then for that to happen, I was like, oh my gosh. But I'm really glad that everyone is like quarantined and that large groups are not allowed to organize, because it's like, I don't know, that's if the Durham investigate, like if the bad players are exposed, they're not going down without a fight.
Mm-hmm.
Like it's gonna be ugly. And so I'm just, as we get closer and closer to the election, I'm just a little worried about that.
Oh yeah. Every day I'm on the edge of my seat, like, what's next? And it's like, I'm not even like surprised. If I look on my phone and there's an alert, I'm like, could have guessed that. That's not ever a surprise anymore.
Or like, I had a very busy day at work today, and like I'm usually on Twitter whenever I live on Twitter, unfortunately. But I didn't check all day, and I went on at the end, before we started talking. I was like, whoa. Peace deal. Well, the FISA thing. There was like 4 huge stories. I was like, "What the hell just happened?" That was so much is happening.
Matter of hours, yeah. No, it's nuts.
Crazy.
What are we coming up on, Darius?
More of these and not cover everything. But I'm sure there's going to be a lot of stuff. The Elon thing, like that's what I'm excited about right now. Is just like some of the quantum tech that Austin's talking about, like that. We could do a whole interview about that. But I think I gave you a couple good videos too. I'd watched the Black Ops one. I'll send them to you. But like, I don't know. I feel like sometimes I watch an interview and I'm like, well, that just changed my life. Mm-hmm. Like that literally just changed my life. And I have a couple of those, so I'll share those.
That'd be nice.
Definitely.
So,
open to it.
Would you like to have any final thoughts for today? And definitely we will do the Elon, because I want to kind of get your opinion, but more like a lengthy opinion on like Elon and Neuralink and Starlink and all the things going on, because there's a lot of crazy things going on.
Yeah, there's a lot of like people who think that might be not for the that he might be a bad guy.
Mm-hmm. Well, the problem is you can do something that's good, and people can use it for bad. So no matter what your intentions are, it doesn't mean that's the outcome. But I want to definitely get like your full opinion on that. So maybe have another day for that. But any final thoughts on the crazy long, fun, tangents upon tangents today we had, or tonight now?
Yeah, I don't. No, I feel like I'm glad we went over like a little bit of everything, because I think whatever you want to call it, awakening, enlightenment. First of all, enlightenment is like not a standalone thing. That's like an ongoing thing. But like awakening, there is definitely a point where you can go, you can put your finger on like when it started, right? Like that is something that I think is happening for people. But I would just, for the people that maybe are a little bit more further down the line, like I had to learn this the hard way. It's like you can't force it on other people. You can't, you're saying, just share too much information. So it's up to everybody to go in and do their own research, because that's really going to be the only way that you understand it. One, that you learn to critically think going forward, and like learn how to, critically absorb news. But also it's just like, I don't know, everybody's on their own path, their own speed. And I've had to learn to like make sure not to like interfere with that, because like that's really special for them, and that's gonna like that is their journey. And you just have to be delicate in like how you're presenting information. And I probably said things this evening that people are like, wait, what the hell? But it's enough for you to go and just start asking questions and doing your own research, because like it's not effective to just tell people stuff. Like you have to go in and want to find it, and it's fun. It's scary, but it's fun. But that's all. It was really fun talking to you guys. Like we need more of this, more people.
Definitely. No, yeah. Well, we want to get you on the next episode or another episode for sure.
Am I the first woman? Is that why you guys invited me?
Shit.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't believe in genders. No. Yeah, you are. I think. Wait, are you? I don't even remember half my episodes now.
So I better be.
Yeah, right.
I better be.
Oh,
You
no,
might not be the
you're number
first,
one.
but you're the best so far. The best that I can remember.
Well, okay, I'd be happy to come back on, and we can have like an agenda
Yeah.
instead of addressing all of the world's problems. But no, this is really fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah.
George, do you have any final thoughts on this episode?
Man, Shelby made me think I need to be a lot more nicer to people about this stuff. Like,
He's gonna listen to you, but not me. Literally everything you just said, I was like, I'm pretty sure I've told George at some point. Especially about
okay.
Justin, if you're listening, which I know you're listening because you always listen to our podcast. Don't be mad at George. We all have our own ways of doing it.
Oh, it's okay.
No, but
we're all gonna look back on this and laugh.
yeah, I appreciate this episode, and I think the best thing to take from it is, look, like, we all have our own journeys, like you said. We're all in our different, and sometimes they intersect. You know, you've met Isaac Kappy, but, you know, sadly before his parting, and, you know, I just met you over virtual reality in the world of tomorrow. You know, I've known George forever, but this is kind of this. The truther path is taken in so many different directions, and we all take everything at our own speed. And, you know, I think the best thing to do is just get people to question, get people to look into things. And you know what? I'd rather have someone prove me wrong, but they looked it up and they did their own information, not sending me a bullshit tweet that's like, hey, look at this meme, that you're wrong. No, look into it, find actually real information, and then prove me wrong. And if you do, I am better for it. So I thank you for making me better for it. So yeah, you know, the best thing we can do is open people up and try to get people to realize that we're all fucked. No, I'm kidding. But no, we just need to keep doing what we're doing, and not, you know, it is exciting. This is exciting. You know, you are right about that. A lot of people think it's scary, but taking the leap is scary and exciting. Things can be more than one, you know.
Yeah.
But
And like these long form conversations, I have to say, like this is, you know, people need to hear the full, you know, like the full conversation. So I'm gonna keep watching you guys. I'm sure you guys are gonna cover a lot of other good stuff, but like the long form discussion, it's like it's everything right now. Getting people's full take, you know.
I agree.
30-second clip of you would not have given me anything about your personality.
Oh yeah. All right. Well, thank you guys. I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Yeah.
It was
Bye-bye.
awesome.
Thanks, Shelby.
Yeah.
Have a good one, and remember, keep your eyes open, all three of them.
This one
This
too.
one. Well, I mean, like, yeah. I wanna, hey, you know what? Thanks.
Bye, guys.
Have a good one.
Later. Bye.